Today I'm coming after the country of Vietnam like communism in the 1950s. I'm making a bowl of pho, but not just any ordinary bowl. It's gonna be the phozella from Gao's Kitchen in San Francisco. This is like the story of a low-class warrior transforming himself into an ancient alien legend. You can be certain that this bowl is gonna fill up your stomach, but also empty out your wallet. I don't plan on going to San Francisco anytime soon, so we're gonna try to make this $100 bowl at home. This is our first time making pho, and we're gonna do it right. Cause whenever you're making Asian food on YouTube, there's a chance that Uncle Roger reviews you. He has the YouTube cooking equivalent of the Taylor Swift effect. If he likes you and give you the uncle title, it's all uphill from there. But if you get on his bad side, well, we all saw what happened. So with this immense pressure, let's do some analytics on this picture because I can't find any recipes online. So we can see here a bone-in short rib, some brisket slices, an oxtail, and what looks like a lobster swimming in the middle. So my plan is to make a really authentic Vietnamese beef broth with these meats and then just add a lobster on it. So let's get started, and today you're in for a treat because I'm taking you to my butcher shop. As you may have expected, we're going deep into Chinatown. It's actually right next to the pork bun place that we did a review of a month ago. The line is insane as usual. For some reason, I've never seen a Chinese person ever order there. And here it is, where I get most of my red meat. 57 Bayard Meat Market. I was gonna gatekeep this place because I don't want it to be too crowded. Then I realized any place that I go, you guys are probably gonna actively avoid it. So yeah, let's go in and take a look. It's actually pretty lit in there. I'll also let you listen to the background sound so you can fully experience it. So what do you think? Isn't it much more organized than you expected? They do have strip club lighting though, I don't know what's up with that. This is their essential section: milk, eggs, tofu, and Chinese sausages. Even though I've never done it personally, but I'm sure your day will become better if you scan the QR codes on the sausage packages. And walking in further, on the left side, we have a gallery of different flavored MSG liquids. Right across we have our sliced meat for your shabu shabu and hot pot needs. And now we have reached the end of this butcher shop. We have some fish and poultry over here. The middle here is just some vegetables that I don't really care about. In this packaged meat section lies my favorite part of this butcher shop. It's their inclusivity of poultry. Look at all these different edible birds. I didn't even know they existed. Starting with our headless duck. Well, I've been headless too for a long time now. Fresh gargani, I don't know what that is. Peking duck, which is from Long Island, not Beijing. Bobo chicken, Washington chicken, Belgian chicken, and New York chicken. Just when I'm impressed by the diversity here, you turn around and there's more. Over here we have partridge. They seem to be resting in their enemy's blood. Quail, fowl, and silky chicken. It's like black/purple. Well, now you know. Birds of different feathers may not flock together, but they definitely die together in a Chinese butcher shop. Also, whenever I come here, they usually ignore me for 15 minutes because I don't speak any Cantonese. So I always wait for that one butcher that speaks perfect English to come up from the basement. I think they locked him down there. I got all my bones. I'm just waiting on this brisket. They call it the Hong Kong style brisket, which kind of just looks like short rib without the bones. And some recipes I saw online also requires these tendons. Time to go home and start making the broth. Just to clarify, I don't get my radioactive chicken from that butcher shop, I get it somewhere else, and I'll reveal that place after I reveal my face. Take a look at this beef joint bone. They got a lot of marrow and a good amount of cartilage as well. This is what's gonna impart most of our flavor of the broth. It's gonna make it rich and creamy. I think this is the shank and the ankle, which is part of my body I always injure when I'm riding a scooter. This is the Hong Kong style brisket. Now that I'm taking a closer look at it, it's definitely a piece of short rib without the bones. They actually have really great marbling over here. I feel like this cut is pretty rare to get now. To complete this rich and beefy broth, we're also using some oxtail from the deep end of my freezer. The color looks a little bit off. It's kind of gray and purple. But when I checked the expiration date, it's only like a week ago, so it should be fine. We've had oxtails on this channel that's like 2 months past its expiration date. They seem to be still a little bit frozen, so while it defrosts, we'll prepare the other ingredients for the broth. Seems like every online recipe requires this huge list of spices for the broth, and I really don't feel like learning what those spices are and going shop for them. So fate has spoken to me and brought me to a nearby store in Chinatown where I found this. It includes the perfect amount of every single types of spices needed to make a beef pho. All we need to do is toast them real quick, and they even prepared us a sachet bag. So let's go over them real quick. We have some fennel seeds and coriander seeds, a stick of cinnamon, some star anise, a couple cloves of cloves, and these pieces look like what gets stuck on my body after my older sister used to beat me up with a tree branch when I was little. And these little pods are cardamom. They used to be traded as a currency on the Silk Road, and I think this is a black cardamom. I don't know what's the difference, but I'm assuming it's bigger and superior. We'll roast them in a pot to activate all the flavors. Once they're extremely aromatic and when you touch the cinnamon stick it burns you, it's probably done. Now we'll just put it in a sachet bag and drop into the broth later. Why did it all fall out? It burned a hole on the bottom. We'll just put it on a plate, set it aside to cool while we clean the bones. Like usual, I got myself into a situation where there's too much meat to handle. It's probably gonna overflow. We need all the meat to be completely submerged to take all the blood and impurities out. I think it would be best if we take some meat out and put in a separate pot and simultaneously boil 2 groups of meat. Just like this. You see how much dirty scum we're getting out of the meat and bones? This is going to give us a much cleaner, clearer, and smoother final result. Let's get back to these spices. I'm taking a large cheesecloth, cutting a piece out of it, dump them all in, wrap it up, tie it with butcher's twine, and finally tie into a sag. Now we can just teabag this into the pot. 20 minutes has passed, time to take them out and rinse them. We'll take these to the sink and rinse them with water real quick. Make sure you wash all the impurities off so we get a clean start. Just like the shower a lot of you guys gonna take morning after the Halloween party. Don't forget about the pot. You don't have to wash it with soap, but make sure you scrub it clean. After all that work, we finally made sure that the meat is clean. We can put it in our pot with no need to worry. Kinda like getting into a committed relationship. You know, I thought I was a master at space management, but I finally resorted to the 2-pot method. Once the water's coming to a boil, we'll char some aromatics on open fire. Burnt onion or onion brulee is actually a pretty popular flavoring agent in French cuisine. It adds a lot of depth and complexity to the flavor development of a broth or a sauce, and you're not going to taste any bitterness. We'll do the same thing to 2 knobs of ginger and just distribute them among these 2 pots. I probably kidnapped Future Canoe because I bought all these ingredients. This is some rock sugar, aka Asian children's Skittles, a handful of dry scallops for umami. You can use dry shrimp too, but you know I'm fancy like this. And finally the king of flavor, Red Bolt fish sauce. I'm always impressed at how bad it smells on its own, but when you just put a little bit into a broth or a sauce, it literally elevates it to another level. Also, there's hella MSG in there, so you know it's gonna taste good. We'll put a 1/3 of cup in. Last but not least, the key bump of sea salt to seal the deal. Teabagging in our sachet of spices. This is actually the wrong move. You want to wait till like 20 minutes before it finishes cooking. I didn't follow the instructions right and did 30 minutes in the beginning, but are you surprised about that? Remove impurities if you see any, but other than that, let it come to a simmer and just wait for 2 hours. After 2 hours, the briskets are done, so we want to remove them, otherwise it's going to disintegrate. And put it in a container, store it in the fridge, and we'll slice it up later. So that's it for day 1 of cooking. We'll let this simmer for 8 hours overnight, and then we'll deal with it tomorrow. Since we're leaving both stove on overnight, I'm going to go familiarize myself with the fire exit routes. After sleeping a whole night with it, I'm starting to get sick of the beef broth smell. So let's take our bones out. At this point, all the flavor should be extracted into the water. We'll also run it through a sieve into a separate pot to catch all the fat and the meat residuals. We'll store most of it into deli containers in the fridge, and this is how much we need for today. Let's prepare some of the toppings that we already have. Trimming the fat off of the oxtail, I took him out after 3 hours of simmering last night. This piece of meat identifies as short rib / brisket, so we're gonna honor it by making it 2 ways. These thin slices will be our brisket pieces, also trimming up larger chunks as our short rib pieces. At this point you might ask me, Future Canoe, what are you gonna do about the bone in the short rib? It doesn't look as good if it doesn't have it. But don't you worry, you'll see in a sec how I always manage to get a bone in with my meat somehow. Salt and pepper on top of the marrow, roast in the oven at 350 for about 12 minutes. All the ingredients that's available to us right now are completed. Let's go shop for the rest of them. There's like a million options for rice noodles. And every single package says premium, so I wonder what's not premium. What does premium rice noodle even mean? I ended up going with this one because I'm sure this is from Asia, because no Western company can survive cancel culture with a product named Oriental style noodle. Some additional toppings like Thai basil, bean sprouts, chili, and Larry. I just realized I'm not used to having things that are alive other than me in my apartment. I mean besides my roommate, of course. Say hello to Larry. I'm about to kill him, and I'm getting a little attached here. This is the consequence of growing up in a civilized society. My emotion and my sympathy sometimes can be my most exploitable weakness. Upon my research, this is the most humane and painless way of killing a lobster. I really believe that every life has its purpose, and treating your ingredients with respect and minimizing waste is the best way to honor them. Larry was 1.5 pounds, so I boiled it for 10 minutes. Squeezing the tail inward is going to make it really easy to peel. We'll cut the tail in half as they did in the picture. For the claws, just crack it open and peel it out really carefully. It's a little bit disproportionate. For the other parts, we'll just use a pair of scissors to take out as much meat as possible. I'm not a master lobster butcher, but I think this will be enough for our bowl. Let's get the rest of our toppings done. Usually I wouldn't use any vegetables cause
vegetable tastes like sap.
But you know, we're trying our best here. We'll soak with boiling water or blanch the bean sprouts for about 20 seconds. Slice up your limes, pluck the Thai basil leaves, separate your whites and your colors, chop them up. Slice the chili as thin as possible because I'm a little scared of the aftermath. Also, friendly reminder, wash your hands before using the restroom after cutting chili, otherwise everything's gonna hurt. Don't ask me how I found out. Finally, some rough chopping of the cilantro, aka the soapy parsley, and these are all our non-essential toppings. A little too green to my liking, but it's whatever. Boiling water, no salt needed. Rice noodles in 6 to 8 minutes while we prepare the assembly. As you can see here, we got a bunch of stupid vegetables, Larry, short ribs / brisket, bone marrow, oxtail, And as an element of surprise, I got you Japanese A5 Miyazaki ribeye shabu shabu style. You might think that this is a little out of character, but the essence of this channel isn't just in radioactive ingredients, but also in my talent in making any premium ingredient look radioactive. So let's get started with the assembly. We'll first lay down a bed of noodles. Why don't you come closer actually? Brisket pieces, oxtail, short rib, the bottom half of Larry spread open. 2 claws, miscellaneous meat, and finally insert the bone right underneath his tail. Now the exciting part, it's just the sheet of fat at this point. I feel like we'll tug 2 nuggets of it in between Larry's body and 1 full sheet on top. Couple leaves of Thai basil, some chopped up scallion, cilantro, and chilies to give it some vibrant color. Last but not least, a piece of lime. So here it is, our version of a fazella. Lobster, bone marrow, oxtail, Miyazaki. It's got anything you ever wanted. It looks like a sea monster ready to leap out of the water to break your canoe. It's been almost 30 hours of work and I'm extremely proud of it. But you know, we gotta post it on Instagram to see what you guys think.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options, I can pass that like Stockton. Just joshing, I'm spending this holiday locked in. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the top 10. I can put the bar.
Alright, the moment I've been waiting for this whole time, I'm gonna be completely quiet for this part. If we're in the medieval time, this would be the dragon and my ligma fork would be the sword of hope. Let's attempt to attack this beast. I give up. Chopsticks are way better tools for these kind of noodles. As a master of all utensils, I'd say let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. Let's break this down element by element, starting with the broth. The literal embodiment of liquid gold. It's rich, meaty, full of umami, and a hint of spices. Perfect amount of salt. The texture is so dense it's almost creamy. It pretty much carries this table. Now the Miyazaki. On paper, it seems a bit of a waste to have it with these noodles and spices, but personally I find that when I have this high quality of a beef, I get sick after like the second bite. I guess my peasant palate just can't handle this level of prestige. So with this aromatic broth and the acidity from the lime, it really makes this thin layer of Wagyu way more enjoyable. So with all the broth meat, Wagyu, lobster, and miscellaneous items, this came out to be about $100. So definitely not worth it. It's a little difficult to eat out of my pie dish, so I made myself a little bowl and putting sriracha and hoisin sauce in it. All the other meat, like the oxtail, short rib / brisket, they all taste the same, just offer different kinds of textures. And the most useless award here goes to Larry, because I don't think the lobster adds any valuable flavor profile to this bowl at all. I think it's just for show, mostly for the aesthetic purposes. Plus I just feel really bad eating it because I had a little bit of a connection with him earlier. Check out this surf and turf noodle bite. Overall, I'll give this dish a 9.2 out of 10. The lobster and the A5 Miyazaki made marginal contribution to it, so I wouldn't recommend it. The main character here is definitely the broth. All the effort and time went into it, you can clearly taste it. I'm so glad that I got to try it. Thanks you guys. Before we leave, I do have one question for all of you. Do you guys prefer if we have color grading on like this? Or do you like the unedited radioactive color range like this? Let me know in the comments if you want. Alright, thank you.